I am Ann-Peggy Divine. Welcome to the Divine Design, the podcast where we unfold heaven on earth and reframe spirituality and theology for a new cosmic era. Your journey on human evolution and integration of your divine design starts here. As a quiet extension of what I'm sharing here, you may have heard me speak about the architecture series. These books are now available for those who feel ready to go deeper. The architecture of light, the architecture of future medicine, the architecture of the living ethos, the architecture of peace. Each book explores a different aspect of how life organizes itself when survival patterns are no longer in control, and a new architecture begins to emerge. If you feel resonance, you can find them on Lulu and on my websites, divinedesign.it and anpeggydivine.com. Welcome back, Richard Barrett, to this Divine Design podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always so beautiful to be with you.
Yeah, we just talk about... Actually, I just finished a book, The Architecture of Karma. And this was kind of interesting because you said something about your family pattern, because I wrote in this book about family constellation, because my family, having 5 children and my husband, I see that we have 3 different spiral, because I come from a feminine divine source, my husband is a masculine divine source, one of our daughters is the masculine, another one is the feminine, and it's not about gender, it is just how we kind of, what structure and architecture we have chosen to grow through. And when you told me that you don't have any siblings, because I also explained this in the architecture of karma, and being a sibling or being a lone only child, often you have said yes to kind of really influence a lot of people, not in the family but all around the globe, and you are doing it.
I think so.
Yeah, and you have, I don't know how many books you have written. Have
45.
you? What?
45.
45. Yes.
Well, some of those books are just about a dozen of them are just direct download.
Yeah.
I thought I was just the medium,
Yeah.
but the other 30 odd are things that I engineered and wrote myself. Yeah, with divine help in many cases.
Yeah, and you asked me, are you pleased with this book? And what you know just described, the other architecture, there were more downloads. This is more I had a lot of help, but I was more in control because I wanted to put out how we can see lives in another way. Like my grandmother that I loved, she is reincarnated. My grandfather, I talk about all my grandparents because 3 of them are incarnated in close family and my grandmother is in another family. But so I explain how to see all this, why we choose family and different role, because my grandfather in my father's side, he is incarnated as my niece. So, and he has become a she, and she is the daughter of my brother. So and to see this, because when we kind of, some family kind of argue a lot and it's kind of in this pattern, but we have chosen it for a reason. So it is kind of to lift us up instead of being in this pattern, repetition pattern, because my grandfather that is now my niece, she is in the same pattern as my father had, as my brother has, because it is, but now it is a she, and it is sometimes easier for a she to, a female to hack out of the programming.
Well, very interesting. Yeah. No, I've often wondered, why I chose to be, not only uh, an only child. My father died when I was 17. My mother lived for another 40 odd years. It was just her and me, basically. And then I don't have any biological children. So I'm very much, spent my life very much being able to be focused
Yeah.
on what my soul has asked me to do
Yes.
without any distractions, because family bring distractions. No, I'm not saying that. It depends on what you want to learn. I mean, if you want to learn about distractions, that's perfect. But apparently that was not my role in this particular lifetime.
Yeah. And Matthias De Stefano has the same structure. A lot of people have heard about Matthias De Stefano because he's also a lonely child and he is affecting so many. So some of us take on this role because we really can affect a lot because we don't have so much disturbance in the family and a lot of this patterning. So yeah.
Well, the other thing I've come to understand is that actually I've chosen this role many times in different lifetimes, and each time I always came up against a sort of not a barrier, but a hurdle, which was being misunderstood. That I was always in advance of my time in terms of the things that I was talking about, and
Yep.
therefore it was not immediately accepted, or I was misunderstood, and I've learned to deal with that and not let it bother me, just like, okay. And it really it calms the ego down, the needs of the ego for recognition, forget it. I don't have that fear because somehow over all my lifetimes I've never really had it, so it's okay. I don't need it.
It's very interesting when we start to talk about this also. And I only have one brother, so it's kind of almost, and it's 9 years between us, so almost like a lonely, since it is
Yeah.
so it is interesting. But myself have had 5 children and really going into this bubble for, yeah, my first child came in 1993. So, and I have learned so much, so extremely much. And also, since my oldest commits suicide and he is reborn and in another family, and knowing where he lives, and I know that I will meet him. So, this family structure, I think it's fascinating. And
Sure.
this new way of understanding life, it is, yeah, we are going from what I call Homo sapiens to Homo luminous.
Right.
New human, and yeah, it's so fascinating. So, and I don't see anything as a coincidence.
No, no. There's so much we think we know, and we actually we don't really know. We jump
That's
to
true.
conclusions too quickly, and we make judgments too quickly. So
But
not doing that allows you to move through all of this quite freely without being yeah, triggered or anchored anywhere.
yeah, and you said something that I think it can be put out even more strongly, because when we start to take back our power to kind of be anchored in our soul, in our light, then we feel misunderstood because we kind of, if not the other people around, because you said you felt misunderstood. And I also, from 2013, when I really began to stand in my light, it feels like I was more and more misunderstood, because when I came from my soul, it was like, what are you referring to? So I think that a lot of people can find this familiar to, when the more strength and far, the more we come into our inner source, people kind of misunderstand us.
And not everybody misunderstands. So yesterday I was coaching somebody who totally got what I write about. And so it's just that it narrows the field where you can relate with people, narrows
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because not people are not there. They're not, they have a worldview that doesn't allow them to see what you're talking about.
yeah,
And and that's okay. So not only is being misunderstood part of the question, but it's also loneliness can be part of the question.
yeah, yeah,
And so then that it makes you anchor more anchored in yourself.
yeah,
And I did write a book, since we keep talking about our books, The Alchemy of Loneliness. Um, but I read, I wrote it simply for one reason. It was about 6 months ago now. I have a friend who he had a difficult life and he's in his 50s and he doesn't easily share what's going on with him, but he shared with me one day that he felt very lonely. And I thought, oh, that's worth a book. So within a month, I wrote a whole book on the alchemy of loneliness, just because he said he felt lonely. And I realized that when he said that there must be an awful lot of people who feel lonely. And
yeah,
so I wanted to explore the whole topic of loneliness and show how it actually is a pathway to inner understanding and inner growth.
yeah.
As long
Wow.
as you, yeah, yeah. So it's, I know, like you, that everything that happens, since I've surrendered to my soul, you get impulses.
Yeah,
And that was an impulse, and I immediately picked up on it.
yeah,
And I'm sure when you were writing your book, you would wake up one morning, or maybe several mornings, with an impulse to do something particular in the book. That happens to me like almost every day.
yeah. Me too. Every day, and I get the chapter in dreams. So it kind of I wake up. Oh, this is another chapter. Oh, this is another. So it's
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And those are what I call the impulses of the soul. And it's really coming from a deep part of you that is, once you've surrendered,
yeah,
it takes, if you listen, it will take control. And that's great.
yeah, yeah,
Incidentally, I mapped I have a new model that I call the triadic model, and I have a survey, and you did that survey.
yeah,
And what I found was that your results were almost identical to mine.
yeah. That was yeah, and you called it the older. It's kind of the older archetype or something.
Elder.
The elder. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That doesn't surprise me because we can talk about this for days and days, and we know what we're talking about
yeah,
because we've had these experiences in our life now. It's taken me a bit longer to get there, I think, consciously. I think I've been doing it for a long, long time without realizing what I was doing. But now I'm doing it consciously rather
yeah,
than unconsciously.
yeah. And I really loved the was it 80 question?
80, yeah, roughly 80 questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and they went deep, and I actually want to take it one more time because I did it in
Oh,
English, and
great.
so maybe if I translated it to Norwegian, maybe the answer would be different. But yeah, I
Well,
also went with the intuition.
yeah, I've become so glad because I've been perfecting this survey and the report since you took it, and I now have an improved version. The questions haven't changed, but you could translate. You could translate the questions into any language. Um, and if anybody's listening to us talking right now, I'd be really happy to send them the survey. It's about, as you said, it's about 70 or 80 questions answered on a Likert scale, 1 to 5. And the processing of the report is automatic. And so I'd be happy to get more examples
Yeah.
uh, to build my database. Just today, I was working on that database, and I extended the database to include age, which wasn't when you did it. It wasn't on there, but I could add it: age, gender, nationality, because I wanted to see whether there were patterns
Ah.
in gender and patterns in age or age groups, and also patterns in nationality, because I think there will be. Because I think, because I know, for example, I've been doing a lot of work recently on the soul of nations, and I was out in Indonesia, and one of the interesting features of Indonesia is, or the worldview is this. It's a worldview of harmony. I mean, it's like 1,000 islands and 900 tribes, and yet it's one of the most harmonious nations on the planet in terms of people's relationships. And they have 6 different religions, and it's so I believe that actually when I do this survey for people from different countries, I will find patterns showing up.
Yes, you will.
And so and so I'm interested to anybody who's listening today or watching, get in touch with me, barrettvalues@gmail.com, and I will send them the survey because I'm building a database.
And I will encourage it because I learn a lot about myself because it is about leadership and we are leaders in our own life depending if we are work so we understand more of our architecture, our patterning, our structure. So it is very helpful to ourselves taking this.
Basically changed the name now to not to leadership, because I believe that the your way of being, whatever it is, there are 63 different ways of being that shows up in everything that you do. It shows up in your leadership. It shows up in everything. So it's not specifically a leadership
Okay, so you have
survey.
changed it because it was called the triadic
Yeah, I just
leadership.
changed it. I just changed the name. I just changed the name. I changed it to the triadic way of being profile, because I realized that whoever you are and your way of being, it shows up in your family life, it shows up in your leadership, shows up in your organization, shows up in your civic duty, it shows up everywhere.
Yeah,
So I think it was a mistake to actually say this is about leadership. Of course, it's about leadership, but it's about everything that you do.
yeah, it is.
Because who you are, you take it wherever you go. It's not like you open the closet in the morning and you take out one way of being. Next day, you open the closet and take out another way of being. You can't hide from your way of being.
No. No, and also when you gave me the results, it also you where I had the lowest score kind of, and it shows that this is not kind of your most strength. So it kind of, and you see how where your strength is, and then we can kind of okay, we know what our strength. Most of us know, but when you have it written, it's kind of the elder, and I have the awareness of national and global awareness kind of that this is also a strength of you. And I know both of you we us have written about national souls this and yeah, so we are already there, so we match. But also to see it black in white kind of, it does something with. So I did it one day and I haven't done anything more, but I thought to myself, this I want to go deeper because this can really be a tool to evolve even deeper and to be even more aware.
Because what this tool does, which is like unlike any other, is it actually identifies your shadow. The because interestingly, our our strengths, where we push ourselves to go, um, often are built on information in our shadow. And when we're extending ourselves under pressure, the shadow will show up, particularly in the field that we're strongest in. So when we get under pressure, the shadow will show up in that field. So there is a strong link between what it is feel empowered to do, and the shadow that shows up. And the question really is simply, can you manage that? Can you integrate that shadow?
Yeah.
And so the tool actually measures the degree to which of seriousness of how the shadow is showing up, which is quite extraordinary. And so you can say, oh gosh, this shadow is critical. I need to work on this one. Or well, I pretty much mastered this shadow, but I just have to beware that it doesn't show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, enough on that.
Yeah, but I also just want to add to that. I love that you say that it is still progressing. It is still growing. This so we have already because I think if it's a month since I did it,
Yeah,
and it's still evolving, and we are evolving very fast.
sure.
So it's perfect that it's kind of a living tool.
Yeah, well, that's why I want people to do it because I want to learn what works, what doesn't work, so in the mechanics, but also to make sure that the results are accurate. I mean, what we're really doing is we're taking the answers to your questions and we're saying, which of the 63 ways of being are strongest in you, and why 63? Because the 9 worldviews, which I call breadth consciousness. So people living in Africa have one worldview, people living in Sweden and Norway have another worldview, and people living in America have it gives you, and it also measures the degree of inclusion you have with the people who are part of your identity. So that's breadth consciousness. But in my own 7 levels model, it measures depth consciousness. And so what I did was there's 7 levels of depth, 9 worldviews. So 7 times 9 is 63 ways of being. And so, which just about covers everybody on the planet. And so it's very, what's the word? A very inclusive survey for any human being.
Do you have a perspective of perception? Because when I wrote this last book, I wrote about 7 layers of perception because we see more and more and more and more kind of.
Yep.
So do you put perception in it in some level?
Absolutely, because as you grow in the vertical sense or in depth, um, you become more aware. Your
Yeah.
consciousness becomes more aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And so, and within you,
Yeah.
most importantly, because the early stages of life, you're very aware of what's going on around you because you want to fit in.
Yeah.
But in the second half of life, you're very aware of what's going on inside you. And so, every feeling you have, you realize is a signal to something that's either in alignment or not in alignment. So yes, absolutely, your perception expands.
Yeah.
And it does so unconsciously. It's like you begin to know things that you didn't consciously know before.
Yeah.
And you are a good example of that.
Yeah. Like the books that just coming because I didn't plan to write 6 books, and they have just come every month a new come. It's kind of in a ceremony, so it's yeah.
Right. So yes, the answer to your question, yeah, more perception, 7 levels of perception. Uh, at the first level of perception is about survival. Okay,
Yeah.
you're simply aware of what's
Yeah.
going on around you because you have this drive to stay alive.
Yeah.
And then at the next level, it's about relationships because you want to belong.
Yeah.
So so my 7 levels model fits exactly into your 7 levels of perception.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. So
Okay,
yeah, and that's also fascinating because when we get ideas, we can, oh, this is my idea, but it is not because it is in the collective and all of us receive it, but we just put a little of our uniqueness into it, but it is the same.
yeah, it's what you're able to take in,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Um, Now, the trick becomes to be able to take in anything that's going on, even like a black cat, for example, that you see.
She's she lives with me. Yeah, she is actually in stage 1 because she was attacked for 2 years. She was attacked by a monster cat. She was attacked, and we saved her several times. So we went to the veterinary to save her. So she is always in fight and flight, fight, flight, flight. So we all the time. So yes.
One perception.
So we tried to save her because we have 2 cats, and she attacked everything because she has the 2 first year she learned that she had to be protect. Every time she went outside, the monster cat was waiting for her, attacking her when she poo and pee. So she is a result of trauma.
Yeah.
So now for 3 months I will have her with me and try to see if I can heal her or to have, because the 2 of the cat cannot be together. The veterinary said they will kill or yeah, they have, when they are together they pee everywhere, they destroy, so they become destructive being together because she is so traumatized.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating. Also, animals can mirror this to us, the old way of being.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've been writing a little bit about karma because it comes into the shadow. And I realized this quite some time ago that actually karma is really something that happens that you cannot, you are unable to give meaning to in your mind. You've never experienced that before, and you can't give meaning to it. Once you can give meaning to something, it's no longer trauma. But so trauma usually occurs around matters of life and death.
Yeah.
And that is the area which most people fear and most people don't understand.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing, like with your book on the architecture of karma, immediately assumes that actually death is just a pathway into another lifetime.
Yeah.
And so does your cat know that it has 9 lives?
Yeah, probably. I think she actually, but what also it very interesting with our 2 cats. It's not it is our daughter's. It's hers, and they are mirroring the polarization. So she came with karma. She had some trait in her that was not in her siblings or youngest. And the same trait that she has carried for all her life, she's now 20, we can see in the cat. So it mirrors the kind of the shadow and the light, as all of us have. But this cat, and she feels sorry for this, this cat that is always in kind of protective mode, because I think it is familiar to her. So she feels sorry, no one understands her because she's so afraid all the time. So it's very interesting, and I have done a lot of regression therapy with her, and a lot of things have come up, even though she don't believe in past life or future life or regression, but she have had so many insight. So it's kind of wow. So I said, when we work on the cats, but you also have to work on yourself, because this is a mirror to you and us. So, and I also have a chapter in the architecture of karma about animals, because the animals also is a part of our karma.
Right.
So, yeah, I really love the book, since it is, yeah, we see animals, we even things, because we are human, we are the manifestors. We are the one that create everything on earth. Yeah. So, she really wanted to be on this podcast. And also it is interesting because cat is kind of a symbol of the feminine. And the next book I will start now in a couple of weeks, it is the architecture of sisterhood. So it is not a coincidence that she will be here during the period where I wrote the architecture of sisterhood, the feminine, the femininity.
Right.
So
well, good luck with that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, the Hadar energy has been so strong in me for over a year. I had to go back in my notes to see what was the date, and she came through the 13th of March 2025. and that was a very feminine energy, more feminine. That first I saw the feminine on the outside, and then I felt it on the inside. And this will be a lot of what's happening then, and all what I have experienced the last year is about this feminine. I have become more feminine, even though I have looked feminine. I have lived a masculine life.
Yeah, I understand. I understand because you are a mobilizer. You get things done.
Yeah, yeah. I'm yeah.
I am. I am. I had a very interesting dream just a few months ago. Well, a few weeks ago, actually. It was just a short part of a dream, and I encountered a woman, and immediately, I don't know whether I recognized or whatever, but I immediately, in my dream, I said, "I love you," and she said, "I love you too," and it was. I haven't forgotten that dream because it was so kind of the quality of love that I felt in that dream was beyond anything I've ever felt before. And so I just, that was, yeah, as I just a few weeks ago, it was really interesting. And so I'm wondering if that was an aspect of my own psyche, the feminine aspect of my own psyche that I was like owning up to and recognizing and saying, I love you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So you sometimes have dreams that you simply don't forget.
Yeah.
Most dreams you forget, but that one I can't forget at all.
Yeah, and maybe it will be a book from this dream. It will kind of evolve.
Maybe, maybe. Not too many other books right now, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
So this the book I'm working on, which is part of the triadic survey thing, is it's called The Architecture of Human Consciousness, and it goes into the full architecture. So when you said the architecture of karma, I was kind of interested because that's the word I'm using too. Um, the architecture of human consciousness, which builds on everything that I've written about up to this point in time, and explains this model that came to me in the last few months, which we've talked about, which I call the triadic model, which means three parts. Every person like you, every organization, every nation has an organizing mind, a mind that actually controls and makes things happen. And every organizing mind, be it an individual, organization, a leader, or a nation, has a shadow.
yeah,
And every organizing mind has a soul. And as you integrate the shadow into the organizing mind, the soul shows up. And all you're really doing is integrating this aspect of yourself which you discarded or you buried, which allows you to find your full expression.
yeah,
So that's the basis of the architecture that I'm talking about. Uh, so not too many people, you're one of the few that I've come across who can recognize that not only individuals, but organizations and nations also have a shadow and also have a soul.
yeah, yeah,
And that was actually the original reason for our podcast today, if I remember rightly.
yeah. Yeah, we were talking about what we see in the Middle East and the Nordic country and United States. Uh, You have gone into all nation, all countries, and think I have gone into 25 or something like that. So I have still 170 nation left. So, and I haven't gone into the United States. And have you gone, when you go into United States, have you gone into all the states?
No, not separately. No, I think that It's an interesting question, actually. I mean, the other day I was thinking about the United Kingdom, and that's made up of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I thought, well, should I go into each of those separately? I said, my thought was, no, not yet, not yet, because but and I haven't done that in the United States either. But the pattern in the United States is everywhere in the United States. It's the strength was this. The country was founded on freedom and innovational mind. What's the word when you take your innovational mind into business? You entrepreneurial. So freedom and entrepreneurism, and the shadow of that is showing up because actually in the USA, the slavery was quite common. And that's not freedom. That's the shadow of freedom. And the shadow of the entrepreneurial, which is supposed to, in the United States, we're supposed to be looking after everybody. But the truth is, only the rich benefit and the poor can't even get healthcare. So this huge shadow in the United States, which built on, you look at its strengths, and the shadow is actually the visible part of the strength that they have recognized. And it needs to be talked about. And as I've said to you before, Donald Trump is simply the shadow, visible, the visible shadow in all its glory is seen in Donald Trump. And so this is the wonderful moment of recognition of shadow that needs to be integrated. And it's a huge learning experience for the people of the United States to integrate that shadow. I want to say a word in Norway before we finish because we're almost running out of time. But and you probably know this, but well, Norway and the Nordic countries, you've developed cultures which are care for everybody, but you care so much that you're unwilling to have hard conversations with each other. You're unwilling to tell the truth to each other and show your emotions to each other because you want to protect what you've created, and that's holding you back, basically.
I know. I work as a therapist. I know.
It's holding you back, or holding, and so it's there's the shadow showing up, the shadow of consensus, the shadow of harmony is showing up in your strength, in the strength of caring and loving everybody and equality. It's, there's there's the strength, but that right behind it is the shadow. It's like, oh, well, we can't really talk about everything. I can't be true in my emotions because I don't want to disturb this equilibrium. Well, that's where you have a gift to give, in my opinion, because you've mastered so many things. Now is the next thing for you to master and
Yeah.
show the world how to be,
Yeah.
how to show the world how to be as a full spectrum individual.
Yeah, and actually, the Epstein file and the Epstein case, it is actually so many of people in Norway, like also Mette-Marit and old prime minister and several,
Oh, I
and
didn't know that.
yeah, so a lot of them. It is we have had some men and women that will go even deeper into because they see that several people that have power that are on the government has been related to Epstein, and they have gotten money and gone on his private plane. So, and also it has been a big this year 2026 big case about Mette-Marit because she didn't say anything for more than 7 weeks, and she has have a very close relationship. It was our crown prince, so she's married to our future king. So she has had a deep relationship to Epstein, and yeah, she put a lot of message, and all this message is out there. So she had had a very hard time, and she had to flew the country. She hasn't been here, so it has been really hard. And someone protect her, but also she have had a lot of condemning from people. So in Norway, there are really kind of two. The polarization is very coming up because don't do this to her. Maybe she will kill herself, kind of, because
Right.
some people in Norway have done before because we hang them kind of publicly, like some of them are
Right.
now. So remember what we have done, like Ari Ben, who was married to Crown Prince Mette Martha. He committed suicide in 2019, and he was kind of all. A lot of people bullied him. He was a original. He was such a sweet soul, but afterwards, everyone loved Ari Ben. So we have had so many of this kind of case in Norway. So we have started to learn. Tore Tønne, another name that also. So it is kind of a lot of name in Norway that has been in this public arena and bullied and kind of because you have done something wrong, but all of us have shadow, but we hang it on some few, and Mette Maris is one of them. So the Epstein file had really gone deep into Norway, and I have seen videos from other countries, and they say, why aren't we doing that Norway? Because they really say we have to deal with this because we have. So this is disturbing Norway deep, actually.
Good. I would say good.
Yeah, it is. It is good because what you actually, the shadow side of Norway is coming up. The Epstein case is really disturbing all the government in the royal house. All the structure is disturbed just by the Epstein case alone.
Right. Well, it's interesting how, personalities appear in the world and in the shadow form, and they have a massive. I mean, Hitler was one, Trump is another, Epstein, I wonder if they're coming up more frequently now. I don't know, but anyhow, yeah. But this is a sign of the fact that we're actually willing to be more transparent and
Yep.
open.
Yep.
It's a growth sign,
Yep. It
uh,
is.
and I was interested when you said, people are pointing the finger, and that's projection, basically.
Yep.
It's like because that in the projection, you're hiding your own shadow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of, as you say, this is something in the Nordic kind of Nordic soul. It's like, yeah, we point finger to others, but we are growing, and I see that more and more
Yeah.
said we not let no not let's do the same mistake as we have before, because we have pointed finger and people have committed suicide and ugly thing has happened because we have pointed finger. So yeah, we have learned some, not all, but we are, yeah, evolving.
Well, you're learning about compassion.
Yeah, yep.
That's what you're
And
learning
some
about.
people that have voice kind of and they use their voice for the good. No, let's put it more balanced. Do we want to do it again? So more and more of these people are highlighting the problem in a balanced way, and then but of course then someone is feeding the old way, but it's more balanced now than it has ever been. So I see that, this is interesting. I see much more balanced voices out there than before.
Okay, great. So,
Yeah, and before we end, we also talk about the Middle East. Can you say something about the national consciousness about Middle East? Because we see that things are really happening there now.
yeah, well, it's what's going on in the Middle East is an issue of identity linked to land. And when you link identity to land, you're talking about something that's sacred. And when you've got different groups operating from there, you get evil showing up. So when we attack the sacred of another group, or this, okay, I'm sorry to say this, but I wrote another book, The Return of Evil,
Yeah.
where I talk about this. Whatever you regard as sacred, when it's attacked, then you will attack back. And so for the Middle East, it's about identity. All these different groups trying to preserve their identity, but it got translated into issues of land. And you can't resolve that issue through splitting up land into parcels. The only way you resolve that is by saying, I for the different groups to say, I understand your pain.
Yeah.
And my pain is this, and that is your pain. And we understand that pain. Now, how can we move on from there? And it's not happening. And it's not going to happen with the current leadership that there is there. So it's a battle over the sacred, or what people regard as the sacred. And it's not going away very quickly. I'm absolutely certain of that. And in many ways, I'm sad to say that well, it probably goes back a long way in history, but when after the Second World War, the Britain actually created a parcel of land for the Jewish people, which they called Israel, and that really was the source of a lot of the recent issues
Yeah.
because it was as it, it contradicted the identity of the people who were already there. They lost their identity, which was very often our identity is linked to land, because uh, the energy field of the land is something that we grow up on in a land. I lived in America for 24 years, and in the end, I wanted to come back to my land. I wanted to come back to the United Kingdom. Not that I think of myself as a British citizen in the slightest. However, there was an impulse to come back because something energetically drew me back. And
Yeah.
I tell, and when I'm joking, I say, well, I should came back to watch the football matches. But they don't understand about football in America. It's a different game altogether. But it's true, there's a certain, when I was a kid, I used to go to the local football team every week. I used to watch the local football. And so that was ingrained in my DNA as a kid. And so I wanted to come back. I could list a whole host of other things like fish and chips, etc. But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than football and fish and chips.
Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from because I have the same, but just in Norwegian terms.
See,
But before we close it up, just one last question. What do you think about United States, what they are doing in the Middle East?
I hadn't thought about that, but it's when I do think about it, it goes back to this central thing in the United States of I want to show my power to the world, and so that's the ego power attachment. And since the United States has a world role, um, this is one way to show my power to the world is to no, the motivation behind attacking Iran could be ascribed to many different things. But fundamentally, it's a consciousness issue. It's like projecting onto the world. It's the same with Greenland, projecting onto the world that we are powerful and we can do what the hell we want in any country we want, and we have the military to do it. And so it's like that projection of shadow of ego out into the world because the United States has a global world role. And so, look here, people in the world, we wanted to show you how powerful we are.
Yeah.
Now, you could say it's about oil. You could say it's about helping the women who are unable to be fully develop in that country.
Yeah.
You could say about many things,
Yeah.
and people do. but it's a consciousness issue fundamentally, and it's a shadow showing up again.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Hitler. His shadow shot across the whole of Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, it is. So when we start to see all this as architecture pattern, it's easier because it's so easy to go into kind of, because there are so many perspectives, but if we see it as pattern or architecture, then it is easier to see the shadow kind of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I'm writing about in my new book, in the architecture of human consciousness. It's very insightful when you can see the 63 different ways of being and see how they're showing up in the world. And if you all have this particular way of being, you have a shadow around that way of being.
Yeah. And it is very interesting that you say the architecture of human being. I have written a book, The Architecture of Humanity. So it is the three first architecture in one. So it became, yeah. So 3 and 3 go to, so it is you also call it a triadic, and yeah, I see that 3 and 3 are kind of going together. No, I haven't planned anything, but it's just the way it come, and I just okay.
Yeah. Books can come together in threes. I've got quite a few books like that where there are 3 parts to the book or 3 aspects to the topic.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting. Plenty to talk about next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Richard, for this. And then we will go into deeper topic the next podcast.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. The architecture of light. The architecture of future medicine. The architecture of the living ethos. The architecture of peace. Each book explores a different aspect of how life organizes itself when survival patterns are no longer in control, and a new architecture begins to emerge. Thank you for listening to the Divine Design podcast with Ann-Peggy Divine. Join us next Sunday for another Heaven on Earth unfolding conversation. With grace, reverence and unity, may the path of your divine design light the way. From the divine in us to the divine in you.